Hello, everybody. It is great to be here one more time today. My name is Gary Fallon. I'm the CEO, president, and founder of GSD Get You Done Venture Studios, a premier AI and quantum venture studio located in the heart of Silicon Valley. I'm a 17-time serial entrepreneur with several unicorns under the belt. I was on the original management team of Click Software, which is sold to Salesforce for $1.35 billion, also Eva.ai, an AI HR tech company I co-founded with Dr. David Yang. I am the host of Simplenight Presents, the podcast where I explore the technologies and innovators shaping the next generation of the global economy. Today, my conversation goes beyond travel technology and into something much larger: how AI-powered omnichannel platforms are transforming service delivery across industries, from travel and tourism to healthcare, commerce, and even citizen services. Organizations are rethinking how digital platforms connect people with services in real time. Instead of isolated systems and disconnected experience, we're beginning to see the rise of AI-powered service orchestration engines, platforms that are capable of integrating thousands of providers, data sources, and services into a seamless digital experience. My guest today is Michael McCarson, head of engineering at Simplenight, where he leads a team of more than 20 engineers building the infrastructure behind next-generation experience platform. Michael brings deep expertise into modern software architecture and cloud technologies, including TypeScript, React, C++, AWS, Azure, and cloud-native systems. He spent his career designing scalable platforms that power complex global services. Before Simplenight, he held engineering roles at KPMG, Infosys, and Verizon, working on enterprise-grade systems that required reliability, scale, and real-time performance. Today, we're going to explore several topics: how AI is becoming the orchestration layer for services across industries, why omnichannel platforms are critical for modern service delivery, the engineering challenges of integrating thousands of providers into a single ecosystem, and how AI may soon power everything from travel journeys to healthcare coordination and citizen services. So with that, I'd like to bring Michael onto the show. Hi, Michael.
Hey, Gary. Thanks for having me on.
So, Michael, across industries, we're seeing a shift from isolated services to integrated service ecosystems. From an engineering perspective, what is driving this transformation?
I mean, at the heart of it, it's AI. But even beyond that, I mean, we've seen over the course of the last several decades with the access to Internet of Things and then the technology talking to refrigerators or whatever it may be, now the next, and it came fast, I mean, at least contextually, because of the fact that, as we're, as I get a little older in age, it's one of those things that all of a sudden it's like a blink of an eye, even if it's a year or whatever. But with that, with the fact of the generative AI and soon to be basically the next iteration with the introduction of open code, the conceptual ideas of where that can take us, it turns around and ends up being just a basically big bang of how do we use AI to integrate into everything we do, and where do we take it from there? So AI is right now being the driver of this and the new open opportunities that it presents.
How do modern digital platforms connect multiple industries like travel, commerce, healthcare, citizen services into one unified experience?
From that, right now, you'll see the aspects of chatbots and the different interactions with that. But where we're going, and basically where even Simplenight is taking things, we're going from not just your current chatbots and everything else, but something that's transformative, where at the end of the day, AI, which is embedded into just or is in the current state of getting embedded into more things, it gives us the ability to set up and actually have things that are digital assistants and tie together options which for all of the respective services, I mean, you can turn around and in even developing countries and other countries, that are, many of them are technologically advanced to where that's something that was not the same way 10 years ago. So what does that mean? I mean, you could fly somewhere in the near future, fly somewhere before you even get to your hotel, have items delivered there. I mean, who wants to carry toothpaste and soap on a carry-on. Who wants to turn around and deal with these things? You can have the delivery mechanisms to turn around and have that there waiting for you, communicate with your potential, and this is all industry-based. You can have it there to communicate with the receptionist at the hotel, do this background information for you in the near future. And with that, basically, it becomes that digital assistant that helps you in all aspects of life. Excuse me.
And what is the magic behind Simplenight? Why is this experience, why are these tools magical and transforming? Like you said, you can have these hyper personalized experience for travel where you could travel from Miami to San Francisco. It would know what hotel you like to stay at, it would know what airline you like, it would know what seat you like in the front of the plane on the right side in first class. It would know that you want to have sushi at that restaurant, or maybe you want to go to Nanking and have some Chinese food, that your friends there that plays pickleball, and you could go up to Napa Valley and it would book an experience in Napa Valley the next day. And these kind of things take care of the infobesity, not just for travel, but for everything we do, right? When will we become a time, in your opinion, do you think Simplenight could be one portal into everything? So it's not just travel, it's not just health tech, healthcare, it's not just citizen service. It's kind of like your guardian angel that's into everything. What do you think about that?
It's 100% a possibility and 100% feasible. First off, to your point, in today's day and age, I mean, granted, 10 years ago, there was always information pertaining to data, but it wasn't a matter of what do you use that data for, because Google and some of the other companies that have been around for quite some time have stored that data and have that data available. Now the actual aspect is how do you transform it using AI with Simplenight, having this available data and all of the information that ultimately can shape not just and this goes for governments, for instance, it's important for them to potentially attract tourism, billions of dollars go into that. But even beyond that, to your point, the actual so the digital services for life, once you have all of these particular items put together and available to you, now you can learn in an aggregated fashion to all of the different nuances that develop you as an individual, and then use that in a broad stroke, even starting off with something such as travel and all of the additional items. And to even add in, very soon you'll be able to have the use of an ability to deliver to yourself and have delivery items. So for those aspects, when you're even traveling now, these are all things that are 100% available, useful in nearly most countries across the world. So we're at a time right now that is unlike any other in history for every country, for the most part, or for most countries that you would come to think of and want to travel to.
We hear the term omnichannel often in retail marketing, but that omnichannel service really doesn't mean, from a technology perspective, how does AI help orchestrate everything and all these services across all kinds of different channels, such as, tying everything together. So government portals, APIs, call centers, chatbots, tying it how important is that, Michael, in this infobesity problem that we have, right? We got way too many things and we need one way to be able to access it.
From a technological perspective, it's vitally important to move away from the old school. Now, granted, what's old again is new again, because, back, before my time with DSL and the way basically everything came to deal with accumulating items like C# said, like libraries and things like that for 30 years, 40 years. That modern day, everything needs to be a buildable Lego. Any large problem, when you look at it at the whole, can be broken down into individual problems. So once you break them into individual systems that each has their own role and responsibilities in its own right, its own, RACI matrix, which is accountable for specific things, and then you basically ultimately build it up. That's, for all intents and purposes, akin to most major conglomerates of today's world. So with that, it's, vitally important.
Let's talk about the concept. Let's talk about cross-industry applications, right? we got travel and tourism, and that's really where Simplenight started out. And how can these platforms really take entire journeys? So let's talk about that. So we talked about, being able to have one portal to be able to do everything. But how do these AI powered platform orchestrate everything, tying it all together as one? What are they doing? What is that magic that's there?
It's all a matter of context. So for context, you need to know the problem at hand and what you're trying to solve in each particular situation. So when you have, let's say 7 to 10 years ago, you had the conceptual idea of microservices, which originated from specifically in technology. You had the original idea of SOA, then it became an anti-pattern. So for that, when you're building out AI systems, you need to now respectfully train each individual part to operate as a unified team. With that, it's vitally important to turn around and have the right connectors for each one of your individual paradigms that you're trying to connect, and then ultimately a overarching guardrail in some ways of speaking, that, or archangel would probably be a better word, that basically just makes sure all of the moving parts potentially operates as a whole. I mean, you see that right now with AI, like, with what all of the cloud providers are doing. They're building into their infrastructure, giving the ability there, like, and that's just at the platform level. You have them in the application from the perspective of you're building actual interactive user experiences. This basically, in all of these different systems, is just one level of trying to make sure you have that archangel which oversees all the others and make sure things are moving. It's basically AI to check AI in some regards.
In healthcare, AI could play an incredible role at tying everything together. I mean, we have these islands out there that aren't connected, from care, from insurance, diagnostics, appointments, and also if you go down through and ideas about how to be able to have a holistic view of your health. So what role could AI platforms play in tying all those pieces together, like what you've done with travel and tourism?
I mean, from the first perspective, anything better than the like, there's much room for improvement. Having just your health card on your phone so that someone can look up your current, like, that's the current state for the most part. I mean, it's not where we're going as an entire industry, but having that health card so you don't get the wrong potential medicine just basically plugged into the iPhone and things like that. There's so much more that can be done. I mean, you can aggregate data, user experience from, like, tapping into the different aspects of all of the systems talking, and kind of almost an AI of Internet of Things of AI. There's so much more that can be done with healthcare. I mean, especially if you've ever interacted with some of these healthcare systems and having to pay a bill. I mean, some of this is still in the 90s, so there's a lot of room for opportunity to really even now. You have to be careful with using AI. Doctors are always going to be an important aspect to give that human element. But at the same time, there's definitely things that even people today are using AI as, like, tell me this and explain this to me in layman terms, what my MRI says. And you have to take it with a grain of salt, but that's something you couldn't do 10 years ago, 5 years ago, where you would upload it and it can somewhat digest it. Again, I wouldn't trust it, but there's so much room for opportunity to at least give individuals the opportunity to use their own information, if they so choose, to be able to turn around and use it in helping when you're traveling to different countries, or, items pertaining to even the omnichannel options. Health is a particular part of that, especially when you're traveling, having that, like, right now, the flights that we book, we get health insurance if you purchase that health insurance options, but nowhere do you currently sync your current health information. So if you ever did need some degree of that, and how would you use it in today with the flights that we take? Like, I bought insurance when I came back after Christmas holiday to my home for my families. So, like, how do you tie those all together? It's one of those things that, starts off even with travel, because, I bought the health insurance option and the liability insurance inside of the travel package. And that's for traveling abroad. Sorry.
No, and that's fantastic. So, I know the Simple Night's working on citizen services. How do you think the Simplenight solution can help citizen services really across the board, whether it's, enhancing the user experience, everything from, enhancing tourism and public services to, you talked about healthcare. I mean, that's another one, healthcare and other services, because they're notoriously out in islands again, right? Things aren't connected together. And you got to go through all these disparate systems all the time. How could Simplenight make that a really pleasant, seamless, enjoyable, hyper personalized experience?
I mean, there's a lot of possibilities, and what we're doing right now as a starting point, having this information available to the countries where if you want to make certain things available to them when you're traveling to them, it gives them a lot of information to make your stay potentially even better. Like you can aggregate your life experience in traveling the world into an experience which would potentially even provide recommendations for where you might want to travel next, or like these are particular attractions you want to do. These are potential dining experiences. If you want to have, if you're at, even like using it from a context of, you know, you like tacos and you're somewhere and you go to Mexico, well, you know, Taco Tuesday has a new name to it. So, and a reason like, you know, you have empanadas in Spain, you have like these types of particular things that you could potentially tap into and be aware of. It's something that provides an experience to governments and individuals alike. If you often find yourself booking something that is specific to a hotel that maybe is an amenity you want to be, you know, especially with searches and things like that, being close to, let's say, specific landmarks that finds, you would have a better idea of knowing how you want to use that data. I mean, and then even above and beyond that, it's so much opportunity, and that's just at the travel level. Like, I mean, there's so many more opportunities. Like, one thing I can tell you from a travel experience and someone who's traveled, one of the most annoying things is when I go to a country and I try to order with the food ordering of choice. Most of the time, it doesn't text to American cell phones because it's a different country. It doesn't handle internationalization very well in a lot of these modern countries. I mean, you know, even things that oftentimes it may require you for oftentimes, oh, you have to tap into the newest app to get dining experiences when you're visiting a country. It's a bad experience for someone to turn around and have to download this particular like equivalent of DoorDash or whatever it is and use it in that country, and it doesn't actually work. It's not going to be the best experience. Inside a Simplenight, it gives you that ability to not have to worry about, will my cell phone work, or, you know, can I order food properly? It basically makes their travel experiences, and we're just only dealing with travel instead of digital society, that much better, excuse me.
You know, when we go down through, when building platforms that integrate thousands of services, what are the biggest engineering challenges that you have in tying all these things together?
You want to save data, but at the same time, handling the level of data and aggregating data into a usable format so that it's transcending all of the services, and all of the services has the data it needs in real time, can create engineering problems for basically scalability, for making sure the information is live and fresh. So with that, I mean, it just at scale, especially with developing systems, where we're going, it's at scales that most companies have never even had to really consider, but it's becoming the normal paradigm very quickly.
You know, how do APIs, microservices, architecture, cloud, how do these enable this complex service, and especially inside of those ecosystems?
Well, with that, it basically breaks things into smaller blast radiuses. So at the very minimum, when you're dealing with microservices and having to worry about individual moving parts moving correctly, and the Aristotelian, some of the whole is greater than the sum of the parts, you need to make sure when you build all of these things into an entire system, you no longer have this one application that controls all of the information in ephemeral storage. You have to make sure what's available is available in microservices, have the proper distribution, like always for the last 10 years, the caching, whether it's long-term, short-term, big data, all of that still is vitally important. But again, it's at a scale that potentially is beyond previous capacities and things that were thought about, tying in obviously the AI aspect of it. Because again, like I remember a day when a monolith was the quintessential way to do it, with one server running, and many multi-million and billion-dollar services had been turning around and using just one server to potentially control everything, which, one database, no normal backup. So we've come a long way in the past 15 years, 20 years.
How important is real-time data in when you're dealing and you're booking? How important is that, having that data that's totally up to date, so you're sure that the room's available, the plane flight's available, and enabling the responsiveness and the personalized service? So is it real time, like on spot, so you understand those inventory levels, or how close is it?
Here's the key to that. It's all about intelligence. What's most important in most of the scenarios with Simplenight is it's the details you have. It's always important to have the most important information up to date. That goes without saying. The next question that you need to start asking is, how often does that actual data change, and what is real time? So when you're really looking at a system for bookings and data, everything is important always and immediately. The concept of eventual consistencies still hold a play, but in a very useful paradox, because you need to be smarter than yesterday. The AI needs to be smarter than yesterday, but even the systems, before you introduce the machine learning, the AI, and all of that, you need to have the foundation of data in a particular way that helps you understand over the long term, especially as engineers. You need to know, what does that data tell you? You can learn a lot from the data, and oftentimes the most important piece of any piece of software and system is the data and how usable and how real time it is. Even though it's for lack of better words, it's important to know what that data tells you, be able to prepare for it, because again, everything comes with preparation. So to answer your official question, everything is important real time immediately. However, there is a paradigm where all of that, having all of the information you need to tell engineers, which it's great for AI to help you along the way, vibe coding is great, all of that is great, but you still need to determine what this information is telling you and ask the questions, what does this information mean in the grand scheme of things, and how does that play into the system that you're using it in?
Do you think that AI could act as that? I talked about a personal digital assistant like your grandmother that's tied into everything. How far away do you think we are from that, where we have one eye into everything? And so we got one Simplenight that can look at, coordinate all our daily activities, understand what kind of things that we have coming at us from a commerce perspective, from kind of things we want to order, the travel, healthcare. I mean, so much of our lives is complicated with this infobesity, right? And how is it 5 years? Is it 10 years? How close are we? And is it possible?
So there's levels to that in the manner to which we actually end up there. For instance, there's going to be your MVP, which is your starting point of where we start to actually find it relevant and useful. Then there's going to be, like, even before the robots and everything else that everybody wants to consider, the AI that goes into it. I mean, for the most part, there's definitely information. There's definitely AI that currently is at least fundamentally there to where it can be shaped to do what we want it to do. But realistically, I mean, it would be, in my opinion, a couple of years. Again, that's my hypothesis of where we would ultimately be with it. But it's even sooner available. And again, that really depends on what we're trying to do with AI, because there's levels. Like if we want, as I was mentioning before, the ability to talk to it as a digital assistant, book the hotel, book the tourism things that we want to do while we're on there. Like AI can do a very good job now of scripting it out. Now the next level is having to then go out and actually arrange all of these organizations, which the chatbot for us at the moment will help you book your flight. So the next level above and beyond that is like, can we actually get AI to the state of, I want the waiting for me, I don't want to have to deal with going to potentially, like, number one, I don't want to have to go to a money exchange, and like, who likes going to an airport money exchange? Can we deal with money services and things like that, that ultimately has that potential currencies every time you travel? And especially if you travel a lot or going on a multi-countries tour, do you want to have to go to the bank? The bank takes 5 days. Like, there's still old paradigms in society that makes life not efficient, that needs to be updated in today's society. We potentially, in each country, in an ideal world, each country, you have a bunch of items already pre-ordered that are available for you as soon as you enter that country, and you're ready to go. And then it's basically already spoken to, delivered, and interacted with your receptionist at the hotel, who speaks a different language, who, all of that is not that far in the near future.
Well, how far do you think, the predictive AI that I talked about, this hyper intelligent AI that predicts the things that we need before we even request them? How far are we out? So, you go to the airport and you're flying to San Francisco, and knows like you want the Enterprise or a national rental car, and you like a medium, and you're an Emerald Club member, and so it does the upgrade. How far are we away from that? So it actually starts predicting what we're going to do and starts, making tentative arrangements for us.
I mean, honestly, if I had to make an estimation, I'd say you'd start to see certain signs of that in the next year, and then it's going to grow from that. But things move slowly, but at the same time, as unrealistic as it was, if we asked 3 years ago, where we would be with AI today, nobody would have had potentially that perception. Like, so if I said, oh, it's going to take 3 years, 3 years ago, where AI was novelty for many people and the normal person, like, I was traveling through some of these side streets of Brazil, and you see Gemini posts, which brings it to, many of the individual people that all across the world are starting to understand and use AI. The need comes quicker than you might anticipate. So, I mean, honestly, I think you're going to start to see more of that within the next year, and it's going to truly blossom and take shape over the coming years. What does that mean for society, and how does that ultimately look? But you're already starting to see the building blocks laid for the common person, anywhere you travel in most countries.
How do you create, going on the engineering side, the culture, the special culture is Simplenight? How do you encourage the innovation while maintaining strong leadership or strong engineering discipline in terms of with these frontier technologies that other people have not seen yet? How do you really create a culture that supports it?
The culture itself, and again, like, to say the culture breeds the culture, it's important to have the foundational open eye to what's going on. Now, with that, implementing these particular technologies, it requires a team who, when they develop, there are the respective guardrails. Now, many people consider these guardrails, AI doing certain tasks, and then another AI checking that tasks. I mean, things that have been around for a while now, even like guardrails with AI checking to make sure any new PRs come up in a particular and set to particular constraints, is a guardrail that wasn't there previously. So for us, we're using and taking advantage of and setting the stage for multiple guardrails at different points at the software development lifecycle to make sure, even if we introduce the technology, the blast radius is small, we understand it before we fully adopt it, and don't put ourselves in a position where we're married to it. Because what may be today's technology today, the paradigms that I've dealt with in the 2000s, where never get yourself married to a technology that you can't replace quickly, or if you do, it's going to basically take down your system. All of these things have never changed, and many of the building blocks that have turned around and guided us through the years still remain, maybe if not more prevalent today, because you want to make sure you're not blocked into one particular scenario. If you have, and this goes back to earlier developers, if you develop something and you ultimately find that you are having to change something in a million places, you've clearly done something wrong. It's because something's going to take 3 months for a refactor when it could take 5 minutes to just change this in one place. I mean, that goes back as simple as the CSS days and the wrappers and having to deal with, other potential packages that came out and putting a wrapper on the package to create a UI design system. Fundamentally, the same conceptual guardrails back then still fundamentally apply today with new technologies.
Yeah, listen, we're coming up to the top of the show, Michael. Really appreciate you joining the show today. I'd like to have the final thing is, what advice would you give founders and engineers building AI-powered service platforms for the future? If you could say, this is what I would do based on your incredible experience, what would you tell them?
One eye on the future, one eye on the past. Things that you may seem new and novel have made their way through the industry before at some level. Maybe not the AI itself, but what's old again is new again. So look to the history for examples. Look to it to determine how and where something might ultimately come into play. We have more technology at our disposal compared to ever before, but at the same time, some of the simplest answers are the best solutions in solving a problem, or at least putting in guardrails to protect yourself. Whether the Gang of Four's design patterns still hold, conceptually today, the same importance to understand, at least at the higher level, how do you approach a problem? Because most of the problems that were solved in the 70s and so forth basically still have meaning today on how you do integrate something into a system. The anti-corruption layers, all these different things that are old, it's old, they still are important today. So look to the past for potential possibilities of how you protect yourself from a system going down, from adopting a technology, but not putting yourself in a situation where you end up marrying yourself to it. And then when you get divorced, that marriage leaves you with losing the dog, the kids, the house, and everything in between. You have to build that solution, understanding that any given time, just the industry itself evolves, but many of the paradigms are still the same as they always were. So learn from them, because the laws of engineering are never going to change in the grand scheme of, building amazing products.
Any closing thoughts, and how do people get a hold of you?
Well, with that, basically, you can see my LinkedIn in the show. And with that, on top of that, in terms of closing notes, it's just really that we are during the current time we have right now is unlike any that has been before, but there are patterns that we've seen through the history of new technologies coming out, how it's adopted. So there's much to learn about the past. And I'm looking forward to it, because I love being able to go to different countries, and my experience is improving each time I visit that, because their technologies they're using makes life ever more easy in each of these particular countries, which on face value, you might not think is a technology powerhouse, but there's so many amazing things that are available that times are moving fast, and, the digital world is already here, and it's been here for 10, 15 years, if you really want to look at where the foundation started. So
Yeah, so you want to keep up with it, because you don't want to be a dinosaur. For all of you out there, you can become a dinosaur very quickly, and you know what happened to the dinosaurs? Nothing good. So it's great having you on my show today. I appreciate it, Mike, for taking time out of your busy schedule. I know here on a Friday late afternoon. And to all of you out there, thank you so much. We're now at over 1,600 podcasts. Please check out, like, and subscribe. My name is Gary Fowler, and I'm your host. Stay happy, stay safe, and stay healthy. And I'll be back to you again soon with another Simplenight Presents. My name is Gary Fowler. Take care of yourself, and take care, Michael. It's been great. Thank you.